If there is one thing that I had never expected, it is this. I am falling more and more in love with the 1920s with every Pinterest search I do. It is just so much more than I thought it was. I think it might have actually become my favorite era at the moment. So therefore I am diving deeper into it. And after having made 3 dresses, more about those in a later video, I promise, I am now going to attempt to make a pair of step-in teddies. I got this pattern for free from Mrs. Depew. I will link it in the description box below so that you can have a go at it yourself if you want to. Now, if you go back a couple of 100 years and you start with the underpinnings, then you have got your work cut out for you. You have a lot to do. You have to sew a shift, you have to sew stays, or maybe a corset cover, or, you know, lots of stuff. 1920s are simple. Very simple. This is the first time that I'm actually thinking, oh, I could maybe even have this done in a day if I hurry. So let's give it a go. For these step-in teddies, there's only 2 measurements you need to take. The first over the widest part of the bust, and the second from underarm to hip. The instructions say to make it out of sateen or crepe. With the words already. The instructions say to make it out of a sateen or crepe, but I don't have those materials at hand, so I'm making it out of this. This is leftover rolls of fabric from my sister's fashion label, so I'm treating it as sort of a mock-up. If all goes well, I shall treat myself to some fancy sateen and make another one. Actually, I'm rolling this out, and I think, against all odds, this is the perfect fabric for it, because it's sort of heavy, it's not too see-through, and it's got a nice sheen to it, so it might actually be the perfect material for this project. Who knows? Okay, we're going to be starting with the top bit. It says here, measure exactly the width of this over the bust, as I did. Allow an inch for each side that is hemmed down for the hooks and eyes under one arm, and turn down top seam. Okay, so that's... So I'm guessing the width is going to be, of course, the width of the bust, and then the length is going to be the one we measured from underarm to hip. So
she's coming through on a big choo-choo. She's been away for months, but I haven't cheated once. Stayed home nights, didn't dance, wasn't taking any chance. Didn't flirt, and though it hurt.
Allow an inch for each side. Okay, so an inch is 2.5 centimeters. Here goes. Inch.
Don't think there ain't no Santa Claus. I know darn well there is, because my cuties do at 2 to 2 today.
I'm using the paper to make the angle here, make the corner. So here we hit the first bump. So far, so good. It is clear to me how big the top part should be,
but there is absolutely no measurements indicated on the lower part, the skirt flounce bit. So if I were to take this drawing as a guide, it means that basically this bottom part is a square, to be cut out as a square, which takes its length and width from the width of the top. So the top part measurement was 36 centimeters. No, hang on. That's wrong. Forget I said that. The width, I mean, was 90 centimeters for me over the bust. So if I were to take this literally, that would mean that the square here would be a square of 90 centimeters. I mean, each side would be 90 centimeters. So I guess let's go for it.
But first, I think I will cut out the top. Ta-da! So I've turned down the 1-inch hem, secured it with pins. Now for a quick iron, and then I'm going to sew the edges down. So I am contemplating the meaning of life. No, I am contemplating what to do with this next bit. See the skirt flounce. It calls for a picot. You know what? I'm just gonna say picot, and if I'm wrong, you can tell me all about it in the comments. For now, it's just gonna be picot. Picot. It's gonna need a picot hem, because if this fabric is hemmed like properly, it is going to be too thick. The hem is going to be too thick, I think, for it to fall nicely. It will just be stiff and stand out at a bit of a weird angle, and we don't want that. So I can't do a picot hem on this machine, because like the olden days machines could do that. This one cannot. This is a relatively modern one. So what I'm going to do is just this. It's not very pretty, but I hope it will get the job done, you know, in want of a 1920s sewing machine who can do a picot hem. So here's hoping. So I've done my faux picot hem stitch all the way around the square, and the pattern, or rather the instructions, say to now cut the triangles. So I'm guessing that means we fold it in half like so, and then we cut it down the middle. Just gonna stick in some pins so it will not shift on me during the cutting, and I'll end up cutting it the wrong way or crooked or whatever. This should, in theory, make sure that the line will not, the middle will not stray too badly from my scissors. So here goes. Let's just get rid of these. Yes. Now the picture would seem to indicate that we attach the middle bit of the pieces that we just cut, the middle bit of the long side of the triangle, and attach it to the top like so. Except that this is not a seam, so that would indicate that perhaps we have to cut this first, or maybe this is open too. Hang on, I think maybe looking at this, this is a very unclear drawing, but I think this means that the sides are left open. What do you think it means? Leave me a comment below if you have figured this out, because I sure haven't. Oh well.
So I guess that we need to attach these two pieces to each other, and I'll just picot hem this, or faux picot hem this to be more precise, this bit and this bit, and then I think we are almost done. Just sew on some straps and hooks and eyes, or maybe snaps. I haven't decided yet. Okay, I think I have done something wrong here because it looks as if I've slapped a tablecloth on myself. I think I was supposed to have gathered it a little bit at the waist, because this just looks wrong. It looks really awkward. And the points, side points, fall down much deeper, much further. Maybe you can see it better here. Like they fall down much further than they do in this here illustration, I think. And also there's like a suggestion, a tiny hint of gathers here. So I think I'm gonna unpick this and redo it. But I'm gonna have to redo this at home because the time for me has come to return home. I'm at my mom's place now, if you hadn't guessed that I wasn't at home. I have to return home and go see my children and relieve my husband of children duty, as we call it. So I will be finishing this, but not today.
Nee, niet doen. Lieverd, dat moet je even met rust laten.
Nee.
Ja, het is mijn cameraatje. Back home. Just going to sew on some hooks and eyes. These are vintage, and it appears that they are so vintage that they have actually rusted. I will obviously not sew these onto my teddy, but I will go in search of other hooks and eyes that are not rusted in my stash. Here's hoping. I've managed to find 2 pairs of hooks and eyes, just barely. That was literally all I had. 2 pairs of hooks and eyes. They're slightly bigger, but I'll just go with it. Beggars can't be choosers at this point, so yeah.